welcome. There's hardly a position in sports, maybe none, that gets the kind of spotlight, the constant talk as the quarterback in the NFL.
Oh, definitely. The pressure is immense.
Especially for a team like the Cleveland Browns, right? A team with, let's be honest, pretty high hopes this year. Every little move under center gets put under the microscope. So today we're going to unpack some really key news coming out of Browns camp, specifically about their QB room.
Yeah, some decisions were finally made.
Exactly. We'll look at those decisions, what went into them, the performances, and sort of what it all means for the Browns heading into week 1.
It's definitely a situation worth watching closely. You've got Joe Flacco, the vet, 18 years in the league, locked in as the starter for week 1.
Which, after last season's run, makes total sense. He really studied the ship.
He did. But then you have Deshaun Watson, he's recovering from that re-ruptured Achilles. Tough break.
Yeah, really tough. And he's on the PUP list?
That's right. Physically unable to perform.
Yeah.
Minimum 4 games out.
Okay, so that immediately ramps up the importance of who's backing Flacco up, doesn't it?
Massively. It shifts the whole dynamic, the whole focus for those early games, potentially.
And that's really where the main battle was this preseason, wasn't it? With the starter set and Watson out, it all came down to that backup job.
Right.
And that's where the rookies, Dillon Gabriel and Sanders, stepped into the spotlight. They were fighting for what could suddenly be a very, very important role.
It just shows you how fast things change in the NFL, It's not just about who throws the best ball in practice one day.
No, it's strategy, it's potential, it's roster spots.
Yeah.
It's complicated. The Browns definitely had some thinking to do.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so after all the preseason snaps, all the evaluation, the coaching staff, Kevin Stefanski, they made the call. What's the official word on the backup QB? Were you surprised at all?
Well, the headline is, 3rd-round pick, Dillon Gabriel is officially the QB2, the backup.
Okay. Gabriel it is.
And honestly, given how things played out, especially trading Kenny Pickett to the Raiders earlier, that move kind of telegraphed this a bit.
Right, it cleared the path.
Yeah, it really simplified the competition between the two rookies and opened the door for Gabriel, especially after his preseason performance.
So Gabriel takes QB2. Where does that leave Sanders? He was the 5th-round pick, still in the mix.
He is, yeah. He's designated as the emergency 3rd quarterback.
The emergency QB. Explain that a little. It's a specific NFL rule.
Exactly. It's actually a pretty smart roster management tool.
Yeah.
It lets teams keep a guy like Sanders active on game day, suited up, just in case disaster strikes and both Flacco and Gabriel get hurt.
Without having to use up one of those valuable 53-man roster spots just for a developmental 3rd guy who might not play.
Precisely. It shows they believe in his upside,
Yeah.
They want to keep him around and develop him, even if he's technically the 3rd option right now, more of a safety net for this season.
Okay, so let's dig into how they got here. The decision came down to performance, obviously. How did Gabriel and Sanders actually look out there in the preseason games? Let's start with Gabriel. Reports were he looked pretty steady, pretty consistent.
He really did. Across his 2 preseason appearances, Gabriel just looked like the more polished guy, more consistent.
Yep.
Like, take the final game against the Rams. He goes 12 for 19, 129 yards, throws a touchdown. And this was in less than a quarter of action.
That's pretty efficient.
It is. It shows good decision-making, getting the ball out, commanding the huddle, stuff you absolutely need from your backup. Teams often look for that reliable floor in a QB2, especially a rookie. Maybe not the spectacular highs, but fewer mistakes.
Right. Manage the game. Don't lose it for us.
Exactly. Consistency, game management, that's often the name of the game for a backup role.
But, okay, while Gabriel was being Mr. Consistent, Sanders had a bit more of a journey, let's say. He actually started off really hot, didn't he?
Oh, absolutely. That first game against the Panthers, he was lighting it up.
I remember the buzz after that one.
Yeah, 138 yards, 2 touchdowns. They win big, 30-10. People were definitely talking like, whoa, maybe this kid could push for QB2 right away. It was impressive stuff.
Electrifying, even.
Yeah. But then, well, things kind of went sideways after that.
Okay, so what happened? He looked so good initially. What changed?
Well, a couple of things, really. First, he picked up an oblique injury back on August 13th. Happened in a joint practice.
Ouch. Bad timing.
Terrible timing. Cost some valuable practice reps.
Yeah.
Development time, right when he's in the thick of a position battle. That can really stall a rookie's momentum.
You're sure.
And then when he did get back for that final preseason game against the Rams, he just really struggled.
How bad was it?
It was rough. He got sacked 5 times in basically a half of football.
5 times? Wow.
Yeah, and reports where he was holding onto the ball too long, looked a bit lost back there. There was one play where he backpedaled like 15 yards before finally going down.
Yikes. Not what you want to see.
No. And statistically, completed just 3 of 6 passes for only 14 yards.
14 and almost a half.
14 yards. And maybe the most telling stat, 0 first downs generated on his watch. All 5 drives he led ended in a punt. The team actually lost yardage, net 9 yards lost. When he was in the game, just a really tough outing.
Man, that sounded like a night to forget. But, Coach Stefanski did try to spread the responsibility afterwards, didn't he? He said something like, obviously we didn't play great as an offense in the second half. That's never on one person.
Yeah, and that's fair. It's a team game. Offensive line protection matters. Receivers getting open. It's never just the QB. Stefanski's right to point that out.
Provide some context.
It does. But, Sanders' in-go comments after that game were interesting, too. Kind of speaks to his mentality.
What did he say?
He talked about wanting to be the alpha, the dog, especially in those clutch moments. He mentioned being frustrated he wasn't put back in for the final drive against the Rams. Said he wanted to be in the battle of the moment, in the heat of the battle.
So he's got that fire, that competitiveness, wants to be the guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which you love to see, that drive. But I think his preseason kind of highlighted that balancing act for rookies, right? You need that fire, but you also need the discipline, the quick processing, handling adversity like injuries.
Yeah.
It's a huge learning curve.
Yeah, a real lesson in development there. But here's something that's also really important. Maybe it gets a little lost in the QB2, QB3 talk. Sanders made the team. He's on the initial 53-man roster.
Huge point, absolutely.
For any rookie, especially a later round pick, surviving cutdown day, that's massive. It means the team sees something they really like, regardless of the depth chart for week 1.
Couldn't agree more. Going from 90 guys down to 53 is brutal. Making that initial cut says the Browns are invested in his future, they see the potential, and they're willing to work with him. So yeah, the 3 QBs making the initial roster, Flacco, Gabriel, and Sanders.
Shows they're playing the long game with him even after a bumpy preseason.
Definitely. Development takes time.
And it wasn't just the QB moves, right? The Browns were making other adjustments across the board. We mentioned Watson to PUP, David Bell hit the non-football injury list, Winston Reed to IR. It's always a complex puzzle putting that final roster together.
Oh, it's a whirlwind. Every team goes through it. Injuries pop up. Guys perform differently than expected.
Yeah.
GMs and coaches are constantly shuffling pieces, trying to find the right mix, not just for week 1, but looking ahead too. And even now, they'll be scouring the waiver wire.
Always tinkering.
Always. It's like this giant game of chess right up until kickoff.
So just to wrap it all up for you listening, the Browns have their QB structure, at least for now. Flacco's the guy starting, the veteran presence. Gabriel's the rookie backup, earning that QB2 spot with consistency. And Sanders, the other rookie, he's the emergency option, still developing, but clearly valued enough to make the 53. All while Watson works his way back.
That's the picture.
And understanding these moves, like Gabriel getting QB2 over Sanders, despite Sanders' early flash, it really gives you a better feel for how teams weigh things, doesn't it? Performance, potential, roster rules. It's all part of the calculation.
Exactly right. It's about consistency, fit, the whole package, not just one preseason game, good or bad. It's about the short-term needs and the long-term vision.
So here's a thought to chew on then. You look at Sanders, the roller coaster preseason, right? Flashes of real talent, then struggles, the injury, but he lands on the 53. What does that signal about how teams approach developing a guy like that? Someone with obvious drive, that alpha mentality you talked about, some raw talent, but who clearly needs more NFL seasoning. How do you balance needing reliable backup play now with nurturing a potential future contributor who might be a bit rough around the edges today, especially at quarterback?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Finding that balance is maybe one of the trickiest parts of team building in the NFL.
It really is. And how the Browns manage that with Sanders while leaning on Gabriel as the immediate backup, that's going to be a really interesting storyline to follow as this season unfolds.